Now, Pavarotti was a good friend.
Hello, welcome to The Revealing. I'm your host, Pavarotti, here to discuss the Idaho 4 case. Now, as a disclaimer, this channel, for entertainment purposes, these are my opinions, not here to slander anyone, so let's get started. This is going to be a short video. I just wanted to cover a couple of things with you. I've really had a little time to do some digging and some more digging, and I dug some more. I'm about to China. So the first thing I wanted to discuss in this video, though, was obviously the defense posted that 300 and something page change of venue filing. And yeah, I went through it. I'm still going through it. You know, I like to really go through things when I go through them. The main thing I thought that was of interest, which tells me that they would definitely need to change the venue. Originally, I thought that they wouldn't change the venue, but I think anybody after reading this report would absolutely change the venue, just simply for the fact, if you read the page where the questionnaire asked the people on the call, what do you think would happen if they actually acquit Bryan Kohberger? Not do you think he's guilty? I mean, they asked them all that too. But it was the answer to that question, what would happen if they acquit Bryan Kohberger? And the responses to that were kind of shocking. Many of them stated that if they found Kohberger not guilty, that the citizens would take matters into their own hands. They would go down there, riot, bust him out of the courthouse and take him out. And there was many responses, but none of them were very good. Let's just say that if he was found guilty in Latah County, the chances are he would receive the death penalty with no appeals and no waiting. There'd be no waiting there. I mean, they're serious. They would go down there and take care of it themselves, vigilante justice. So based on that fact alone, I would think that they would want to change the venue, because it would put everybody's lives in danger. Apparently the whole town would go in and remove Mr. Kohberger and his not guilty verdict and eliminate him. So that was the most telling thing I could find in the survey part. But, you know, when I go through things with a fine-tooth comb. And one thing that I found was really kind of weird. And it wasn't in their filing, it was in their attachments. In their attachments to the filings, they posted every single press release that the Moscow Police Department released during the investigation. Now, we've all read these, you know, probably in real time. But going back through them, I went ahead and read every single one of them again, and I found one thing that really just stuck out. It's kind of weird. Let me share it with you. Okay. So this was a press release on November the 30th, and you can see right here it says clarification at 7:15 p.m. Conflicting information has been released over the past 24 hours. Conflicting information. The Latah County Prosecutor's Office stated the suspect or suspects specifically looked at this residence and that one or more of the occupants were undoubtedly targeted. Now, that we got to clarify that, though, because we have spoken with the Latah County Prosecutor's Office and identified this was a miscommunication. Well, how do you miscommunicate that one or more of the occupants were undoubtedly targeted? Detectives do not currently know if the residents or any occupants were specifically targeted, but continue to investigate. So, yeah. But right here is the one that I thought was really interesting. This one right here. Look at the wording on this thing. Regarding the interview with Latah County Prosecutor Bill Thompson, we feel we feel. We feel. Not we know, but we feel. His responses were messaged to support the implication that new information had been released. We feel his responses were messaged to support the implication that new information had been released. Specifically, generalized statements regarding the potential of targeted victims and the involvement of drugs were redefined into an affirmative answer. What in the heck does that mean? We feel his responses were messaged to support the implication that new information had been released. Specifically, generalized statements regarding the potential of targeted victims and the involvement of drugs were redefined into an affirmative statement. I mean, I would have to say redefined into an affirmative statement. When you say affirmative, you're saying, okay, that's correct. Affirmative, I got you. So his statements were redefined into a yes, it appears. So basically, the prosecutor spit his mouth open, old Bill Thompson, and made a statement that said the victims were targeted and the involvement of drugs is yes. Wow, that's something I'd never caught before. Interesting.
Could drugs be involved in all of this?
I have not heard that there's any suspicion that drugs played a role in the killings.
So not like a drug deal gone bad or something like that?
I am not aware of anything like that, no.
I'll continue to give you updates on those docs, though, if I come across anything that I feel like is relevant to discuss. But very, very interesting. You know, I've talked pretty harsh on Howard Bloom and his book, and I continue to feel that way. But myself, I guess like many, many others, maybe everybody, because I've watched several of the interviews that he's done with, different channels now, and nobody has ever addressed it since that very first interview he did with the Drunk Turkey Show before the book actually came out, where he was discussing, talking to the head of the drug task force and him saying that he believed drugs, were the answer. And never have heard anybody mention it before, and I got so frustrated with the book, I quit reading it after the first couple of chapters. Well, something told me to revisit it. I don't remember what it was, but when I picked up that book again and I just flipped to the end to get past all of the conjecture on how Kohberger did it, and unbeknownst to myself, and I guess the rest of the world, the last two chapters of his book were actually pretty dang good. They had nothing to do with the Kohberger did it. The last two chapters of his book was about the drugs and the drug angle and what he feels like the defense is going to do. But in there, he gets very specific. He really goes into some detail on Emma Bailey, and I learned some things that I didn't know. So if his sources are correct on these things, it puts some things in a new light. And it also takes the things that I've been discussing and I mean, it's like I don't understand how accurate I can be when I go over this stuff. But I'm going to put out another video later tonight, and I'm going to show you some things that I think are very pertinent to this case, and I think they'll shock you. I think they'll shock you. And we're really starting to refine this thing down to the fine details. I've also done a lot more digging on who I believe the culprits in this thing really are. And man, I tell you, it's just interesting. It's just interesting. Now remember, All these other people out there will tell you this thing's cut and dry. It's a straight up case. Nothing weird. Nothing weird about it. What have I said the whole time? They have informants. Confidential informants. I've named who they are. Old Bailey may be one too, though. In fact, it may be, it's almost going from the craziest, most complicated thing in the world to the perfect scenario for all of the culprits really involved in this thing. And that's all I can say at this point. But you know what? I'm not the only one that knows there's an informant in this thing.
Journalism, maybe. But Howard, been a couple of questions about this informant, I guess connected or related somehow to Stevens and all this. What is that? Oh, you're muted again. I don't know why that keeps happening. You're unmuted now.
It's not just Steve who has talked about there being an informant. Both the prosecution and the defense last spring made references to there being a confidential informant in the case, that there could not be all the discovery information revealed, because if this information was revealed, then it could put someone in jeopardy. And the prosecution, Bill Thompson, actually used the phrase confidential informant when talking to the court. Who is this confidential informant? What does it involve? That's one of the mysteries that I think would be resolved at the trial. Have you heard about this, Kevin, too?
Kevin, yeah. Kevin, anything on this?
No, not on my side.
No, there you go. Kevin,
Confidential.
Yeah, it's confidential. It's confidential informant. But Kevin, you and I think Howard.
Please like and subscribe to the channel. Post your comments, post your thoughts, post your criticisms. Don't come after me and want to cut my head off because I said a kind word about Howard Bloom. I think the book is terrible and it doesn't do anything for Mr. Kohberger. But I'm telling you, the last two chapters, if anybody, we should have put those two chapters first and ended the book, because it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, it's like almost everything that I've explained. I think he watched my videos and he went through and wrote that chapter. But like and subscribe to the channel, post your thoughts, post your comments. I'll see you here in just a few with one that you really want to see. Pavarotti out.